896-5555. Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. A Tuesday where we now know Jaguar training camp officially begins 2 weeks from tomorrow. And that's right, and you're invited. One of the 9 open practices will be practice number 1 of the 2025 training camp Wednesday, July 23rd, 2 weeks from tomorrow, Wednesday, July 23rd, 8:30 a.m. practices. For the most part, down at the Miller Electric Center. I know the parking lot's open at 7, gates open at 7:30. You have to go to jaguars.com and register to get your tickets to go to training camp. But my goodness gracious, 2 weeks away. It got here quick, and as a matter of fact, 1 month from tomorrow is the first preseason game for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So right after 4th of July, man, it just starts humming along. In fact, Big 12 Media Days going on right now out in Dallas. Next week is the SEC Media Days. How about DJ Lagway, going to be one of the 3 athletes representing the University of Florida? I was actually kind of surprised by that. I'll tell you why here in a moment, but Lagway will go out there with, I believe, Caleb Banks and Jake Slaughter. Everybody else announced their guys today. Gunnar Stockton's going out for Georgia. But SEC Media Days next week, and then it ends with the ACC kickoff and the Big Ten Media Days in 2 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening in a very short amount of time as we are on the doorstep of the 2025 football season. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. Steve Palazzolo, one of my favorites. Him and Sam Monson do a terrific job with that Check the Mic podcast. That thing's getting bigger and bigger as the weeks and months go by. Steve's also a part of the 33rd team. He'll come on, talk about the Jaguar offseason, give his thoughts on Travis Hunter, Trevor Lawrence, where the Jaguars, in his opinion, are in the AFC South. So Steve Palazzolo of the Check the Mic podcast comes up in about 15 minutes or so. And then in about half an hour from now, a little over, maybe 35 minutes or so, Bill Bender of the Sporting News will join us again. Media Day season has commenced, and we're going to do a lot of college football this week. We got Bill Bender tonight. I'm scheduled to have Phil Steele. Yeah, that Phil Steele of the Preseason Magazine on Thursday. Maybe a couple of more surprises in the works as well. But Bill Bender, national college football writer, Sporting News, joins me in about 35 minutes to talk Florida, Florida State. We'll also mix in a little Georgia and a little Miami. So it's all football all the time here in hour number 1. We are with you as we are every night until 10 o'clock. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
Well, first and foremost, it's always a big deal when I'm reunited with Denmark. Denmark, it's been about a week since you last saw me. Is it emotional for you as it is for me right now?
No.
Well, at least you're honest. Well, I'm happy to have you back, my friend. The schedules were a little jumbled a little bit, but Denmark's back in the fold, and we're happy to have him with us. All right. 2 weeks till Jaguar training camp. In fact, the rookies come in a week and a half. I got my email through the Jaguar PR staff today for training camp credentials. I mean, it's here. I had to fill that out like I do every year, and we'll get it back, and we'll be down there at the Miller Electric Center 2 weeks from tomorrow for the first practice. And the grind begins, training camp 2025. But as we sit here on the doorstep of training camp and of the preseason and regular season getting underway, you know, we've talked about this a lot this offseason in various parts, just how crazy the offseason was, right? There was constantly something going on. I think arguably the craziest, wildest, whatever verbiage you want to use, offseason in the history of the Jaguar organization. Having said that, with the perspective that it is only 2 weeks to training camp, if you look back at this offseason, if you do a rewind the clock back for the last 6 months, roughly, what was the biggest story? There's a lot of options, right? The Liam Cohen saga. Hiring Liam Cohen 16 days after Doug Peterson was relieved of his duties. Trent Baalke, was he a factor in Liam Cohen not coming here originally and then ultimately deciding to come here? Well, you decide that for yourself. I think that answer is fairly obvious. But was Liam Cohen the biggest story of the offseason? What about James Gladstone, the 34-year-old general manager, getting hired right before the combine? Remember that? Remember he got hired and then the combine was literally like 48 hours later up in Indianapolis? How active the Jaguars were in free agency. Seemingly every day they were signing somebody. Travis Hunter, of course, the trade up for Travis Hunter. Or was the biggest story this offseason simply that Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson were relieved of their duties? I would argue, as big as Travis Hunter was, might be the biggest draft day trade in the history of the Jaguars, probably is. As big as the hire of James Gladstone was, throw in Tony Boselli as the EVP, certainly don't want to leave him out. Liam Cohen as the new head coach, as big as all of those were, and they were all enormous. None of those things happen had Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke not been relieved of their duties. None of them. How different would this offseason have been had Peterson and Baalke remained? And we thought Baalke was going to remain for those 16 days, right? After Peterson was let go. 16 days of uncertainty, 16 days of scratching your head, like, what on earth are they doing? And then to come out clean on the other side with Cohen, Gladstone, Boselli, the free agent haul, the Travis Hunter trade. Holy moly. Little choices in life. You could go left, you could go right. You could go backwards, you could go forwards. Little choices are domino effects for everything afterwards. And because Shad Khan relieved Doug Peterson of his duties, and because Shad saw the light 16 days later and got Trent Baalke out of here, as a result of that, the Jaguars, to me and probably to you, the collective us, I think we're all in agreement, have had one of the craziest, wildest, perhaps most impactful off seasons in the history of the franchise. But my gracious, how different it would have looked had Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson still been here, particularly Trent Baalke. So that's why, to me, that's the biggest move of the offseason, was getting Baalke out of here and to a lesser extent Peterson out of here, because nothing else happens from Cohen to Gladstone to Boselli to Travis Hunter. None of that happens had Baalke and Peterson remained. And thankfully, Shad Khan did that. We'll see if it bears fruit. Now, look, it's still the honeymoon phase, right? They can still do no wrong. Now, you know as well as I do, if they start 0-4 this year, you're going to be calling in here and calling into the fifth quarter, and you're going to be pissed. That's what happens as a fan, right? Everything's great right now, assuming they put a winning product on the field within reason. I'm not saying they need to go 4-0. Can't start 0-4 again. They start 0-4 again, that is a disaster. Absolute disaster. So So we'll talk more about that. Steve Palazzolo, the Check the Mic podcast. He's also on the 33rd team, does a terrific job covering the NFL. Steve's podcast, Check the Mic with Sam Monson's one of my favorites out there. They do a good job. And Steve has been critical. He'll openly admit he's been critical of some Jaguar decisions in the past. What has his thoughts been about what the Jaguars have done this offseason? From the hires to Travis Hunter to where they stand in the AFC South heading into 2025. Let's preview training camp. Let's talk about the offseason that has been and all points in between. My buddy Steve Palazzolo, the Check the Mic podcast, joins us next on a Tuesday evening here in Northeast Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
We're going to do a little number for you, but remember, we're a bit rusty, so bear with us. Just like the old days.
All right.
Mornings
Maestro.
on 1010XL.
My little buttercup has the sweetest smile.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy. Why so glum?
Stinky ice cubes, Jason. It's all downhill from here.
What?
The tap water at my place smells kind of funky. Funky tap water makes funky ice cubes. I meet a nice girl, invite her back to my place for a cocktail, and blow my whole romantic gesture with a mojito that smells like dog's feet.
Wait, I can totally make you way cooler.
I'm not taking your charity ice cubes, Jason. I have my pride.
Your pride is safe. Our plumbers can be at your house the day you call and install a whole home water purification system. Water tastes better, dishes come out cleaner, even your hair feels better after you shower.
Ooh, the ladies love a man with soft hair, don't they, Jason?
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend every day worried about the water in your own home, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Hey, Tinsley, why don't we use EasyCater to order food for staff lunches?
Because my 46-page acronym system is so easy. I just have to salad, stay alert to late arriving deliveries, pie, put in expenses, and Google Pie. Go out and get everyone's preferences and allergy information.
That's supposed to be simple?
No, simple is Steve and Irma and Margie prefer lasagna and empanadas.
OMG.
No need to make work life more complicated. Just use EasyCater, the easy way to get food for work.
What's the weekend in sports look like? I'm 1010XL's Dan Hicken, and I'll give you my takes and weekend updates on YouTube and Facebook. Musings with the media mogul. That's right, motivated by Tucker Equipment Rentals in Neptune Beach.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
Dreams Come True is a local wish-granting organization giving dreams and special times to local children battling life-threatening illnesses. Find out how you can help at dreamscometrue.org.
The Wounded Warrior Project provides what medicine and technology can't: community, counseling, and a second chance. Find ways to help at woundedwarriorproject.org.
If you're between ages 16 and 24, you can learn a career in construction, electrical, plumbing, or masonry with free training from the AMI Kids Florida Registered Free Apprenticeship Program. Call 576-7337.
There's a critical need for all blood types. Please consider donating at a local blood donation center.
If you could benefit from a grief and loss support group, call Haven Hospice at 279-1677.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple of years ago. Went smooth as silk. Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. Was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
David Garrard here. I've had the PRP treatment from Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and my knees are really doing well. Platelet-rich plasma treatment may be the answer for whatever is hurting you.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Are your kids ready to play this summer? Come check out The Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At The Y, summer camps every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited, and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
With 50 years of fabrication expertise and towing products, the family at Cannons of Jacksonville can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
Need cash? Beaches Jewelry and Pawn has cash, and they're ready to buy guitars, surfboards, jewelry, firearms, tools, and especially gold. And gold market prices are at a record high. Get cash on the spot at Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jacks Beach.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. 2 weeks away from Jaguar training camp as they will get ready for the 2025 NFL campaign. What an offseason it was here in Jacksonville. Let's look back on maybe the craziest offseason in Jaguar history, and let's also look around the rest of the AFC South. One of our favorites is Steve Palazzolo. You can check him out at the 33rd Team. He's also one of the co-hosts of the Check the Mic podcast, and Steve is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Steve, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, Steve, we always appreciate it, man. You and I haven't spoke since, I think, the Liam Cohen situation here way back in January. When you take into account Cohen, the Gladstone hire, free agency, and obviously Travis Hunter, from a mile-high view, Steve, how would you assess what the Jaguars did this offseason?
Well, I think it's going to be exciting going forward. I think, there's certainly plenty of drama attached to that, some aggressiveness with that Travis Hunter move. So I think at the very least it's exciting. I think it's a great opportunity to get a good offensive mind like Liam Cohen, to get a young up-and-coming star as far as NFL executives go with a James Gladstone, and then a Travis Hunter, right? This aggressive move where you give up a future first-round pick. And the Rams, so the Rams Super Bowl team, we used to always reference it on our podcast as stars and scrubs, and that's no offense to the other players, but they were star driven, and I think you saw this early move to go get a star, and they already have an emerging star in a Brian Thomas Jr. There's hope, of course, that Trevor Lawrence will be a more consistent star at the quarterback position. So I think the Jags and Gladstone, they're going big or going home, and I think we saw that throughout this offseason.
And to that point, I mean, what does it say, Steve, about a 34-year-old in James Gladstone and a 39-year-old in Liam Cohen? I mean, talk about putting your stamp on the franchise right out of the gate to make arguably the biggest trade in franchise history to go up to get Travis Hunter. I mean, that took some guts, correct?
No, it did. And look, Travis Hunter is a unique prospect. That's what we talked about throughout the entire process. So, doing it when you trade up for non-quarterbacks, it's generally difficult to match the value on the other side of the trade. Will Anderson was traded for essentially 3 really high picks, top 34 picks a couple years ago. And as great as Will Anderson is, the Houston edge rusher, they still gave up 3 good players. And it's not necessarily this clear win for the Texans, so to speak, but they got a star player and they're happy with it. And most of those trades up for non-quarterbacks are difficult to match the value on the other side. But Hunter's a unique prospect because of the two-way deal, because of everything that the Jags have talked about with his character. And, you know, I was talking to a team that was picking in the teens right before the draft, and they were just raving about Travis Hunter. They were like, man, this guy is awesome. And they knew they had no chance to draft him, but they just loved and raved about his character and everything about him from a football perspective and what he brings to the table. And clearly that's what the Jags are buying into here. So that aggressive move, but when you start to stack potential stars like Travis Hunter, like Brian Thomas Jr., catching passes from Trevor Lawrence, and then you add in Hunter's versatility at corner and what he can do there, even if it's not on a game-to-game basis, but even season to season, the depth chart flexibility that he gives you if you're loaded at receiver one year and struggling at corner, the fact that he can move around and fill those gaps. The uniqueness to Travis Hunter's game, though, I think makes it a lot easier to justify that trade up.
Steve Palazzolo, Check the Mike podcast, also a part of the 33rd team. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Steve, you've covered the league for a long time, man. Is it physically possible to do what Travis Hunter wants to do, which is have a primary role on offense and, for that matter, a primary role on defense? I don't think anybody necessarily knows yet how it's going to ultimately play out this season, but there's no doubt that in Travis Hunter's mind, he believes he can do a lot of both on both sides of the ball.
I mean, look, I think it'll be difficult, but I thought it would be difficult for Travis Hunter to do what he did at Colorado. Not only playing games where he had 130, 140 snaps, but doing it in the thin air, you know, in Denver, you know, in Colorado, basically. So, look, I'm never gonna doubt a Travis Hunter, but it is a different animal, right? There's a different level of physicality in the NFL. There's this 17-game schedule, and it sounds crazy, but just adding that extra game has felt like teams have dealt with even more attrition with that extra week. Heading into the playoffs, we've seen teams like the Dolphins didn't have any edge rushers a couple of years ago going into their game against Kansas City, and Buffalo has been losing 3, 4, 5 defensive starters heading into their playoff games the last couple of years. It does feel like teams are getting a little bit more beat up. But of all the people, I saw Travis Hunter go out there, and there were certainly some games where it felt like he looked a little fatigued, you know, playing man coverage and everything, and, you know, playing corner. But unreal that he was able to do what he did in college, playing 140 snap games. I don't want to dismiss what he did. It'll be more challenging in the NFL, and I can't wait to see it. So I don't know if he can do it, but I do think it's probably best to be wise and figure out how to pick your spots and not have him playing 140 snaps. But even if he gives you 30 on defense and 70 on offense, it's an incredible weapon. If he can just be, you know, 1.5 players instead of just one player, that's part of the value of taking him at number 2.
You know, we'll get to Trevor Lawrence in a moment. We've spent a lot of time on Travis Hunter. I want to talk about Brian Thomas Jr. on the Check the Mike podcast, one of the latest editions you and Sam Monson did. You talked about the best players in the league under the age of 25, and I believe BTJ was very high on your list. So needless to say, you're a Brian Thomas Jr. fan.
Yeah, and look, both Sam and I on our podcast were a little skeptical of him as a future star, but I think we saw it pretty early on last year. We were more skeptical during the draft evaluations, you know, inconsistent hands and maybe, you know, could he be more than a deep threat? I think he answered all those questions in year one. You could see the target share and, you know, the way he was being used later in the season. Clearly the Jags had more confidence in him as well. So, yeah, I mean, he's a difficult cover. He's behind the defense often. There were so many plays where he could have had even more yards if Trevor or Mac Jones didn't overthrow him on a couple of those deep balls. I think his route running looked very good. He was getting in and out of breaks extremely well. So I think Brian Thomas Jr. showed that he could be a high volume number 1 receiver, not just a vertical threat, but while also maintaining, you know, being one of the better vertical threats in the NFL. So yeah, I was very impressed with his rookie season, and I think him and Malik Neighbors coming out of LSU both showed that they could be big-time downfield threats or every level threats, really, at wide receiver.
A couple of more for Steve Palazzolo of the Check the Mike podcast. He's also a part of the 33rd team. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. To Trevor Lawrence, Steve, you and I have had this conversation, I know, the last 2 or 3 years in the month of July, talking about how big a year it is for Trevor. And again, here we are. It's a big year. He's 25. He's going to be 26 in October. If you go back to his final year at Clemson, this will be his 4th head coach in 6 years. This will be his 3rd straight year with a different center. I mean, it's not exactly been an easy transition to the NFL, but hopefully now with Liam Cohen and an offensive mindset with Cohen and that staff, maybe this is finally the time for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, and look, I've brought up, because when Trevor came out, you get these comps to, Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck and best QB prospect since, and then, Caleb Williams comes along a couple years later, and he gets the same comps. But look, Andrew Luck's career path was an interesting one for me that I thought Trevor Lawrence could go through, where Luck was never really elite or playing in this top 5 to 8 quarterback category for me until year 5 or 6. And then, unfortunately, he retired. But his last couple of years, I thought Andrew Luck is really when he started to put it together. And I know we've been spoiled with guys like Patrick Mahomes immediately hitting the ground running, or Josh Allen in year 3, things just clicked. And it was just a cleaner story. And Lawrence doesn't have a clean story. It looked like he might, right? Like halfway through 2022, it's almost like they flipped a switch and all of a sudden Trevor Lawrence is playing like a top 5 quarterback. Let's do that in perpetuity. And then he kind of carried it into 23. Then they collapsed a little bit down the stretch, had all those injuries, trying to play through injuries. Last year had injuries and had some inconsistency early in the season. So I don't know how you bottle up consistency. But that's what Lawrence has been lacking. There's been spurts, right? You could take any 5-game stretch or 10-game stretch. There's a few of those in Trevor Lawrence's career where you say, okay, that's it. But bottling that up and doing it week to week, I thought early last year, accuracy, some decision-making was just off early in the season. And that's what he needs to tidy up. And like I said, I thought Andrew Luck had a very good career. And early on, I think he had a lot on his shoulders and he carried it well. But then there was a point where he cleaned up some of his decision-making. He was more accurate and just played cleaner football from start to finish. And that's what you need from a Trevor Lawrence. And I think Liam Cohen does have a chance to get that out of him. I think Cohen's done a really nice job. I mean, he had Baker Mayfield's best statistical season last year as play caller. You go back to Will Levis at Kentucky, and the one good year that Will Levis had that got him drafted high was with Liam Cohen. And so if they could find that balance of giving him the easy stuff, getting the ball to the playmakers, stat padding, so to speak, and then allowing Trevor Lawrence to, play free and do what he does, it's going to be important. Plus the injury aspect. I think, this is a couple straight years of battling through injuries, and I think it's a big deal. And a lot of that is QB playing style and making sure that you're not getting hit. I know there's a late hit last year, and that was a big factor. I'm not going to blame Trevor Lawrence for that, but you really have to take care of yourself at the quarterback position going forward. Again, not blaming. I'm just saying when you're battling injuries, he was battling, 5 injuries in 2023 down the stretch. You have to find ways to just take fewer hits. That's what kept Tom Brady, Drew Brees. That's what kept those guys healthy throughout their career, Peyton Manning until the very end. So I think that's going to be a big part of Trevor Lawrence's game as well.
Final moment, Steve Palazzolo, the Check the Mic podcast. Steve, final Jaguar question, then I want to end with a quick thought on the division. The defense has some names, right? Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker, Foye Oluokun, Tyson Campbell. We'll see what happens with Travis Hunter. Obviously a completely new defensive staff. What's a thought from you on the Jaguar defense entering 2025?
Yeah, I mean, they were really disappointing last year with the new system. And it's funny because the new system on defense can kind of go either way. I think the Jags, maybe back in 2012, one of those years over a decade ago, they just kind of had similar personnel, changed the defensive scheme, and they were better, at least for a stretch of play. I could see that happening this year. That happens a lot around the league where you just get a new system, similar players, and they just play better. I thought last year secondary had just a ton of issues. They just weren't putting it all together defensively. But I think they've got a pretty deep defensive line with Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker developing. becoming a more consistent down-to-down presence. I think, just having Eric Armstead and some of the depth there, having a buy low on one of my favorite players, Dennis the Barbarian Gardeck, whenever he can come back and rush the passer. I love that guy. So I think they've got some talent, and just the scheme change itself will allow them to make some improvements. And if they get back to, middle of the pack defensively, I think they have an opportunity to have a really good offense. And that's what becomes a really good season, if that defense can just get back toward a mid-tier type of unit, as the offense, has a chance to lean into their explosiveness and creating big plays.
Steve, final question. We won't hold you to it. It's only the middle part of July, but here we stand, training camp about 2 weeks away. What are your thoughts on the division? I mean, Houston appears to be the favorite coming in. Quarterback situation in Indy up in the air. Who knows about Cam Ward in Tennessee? What are your thoughts on the AFC South as it stands right now?
I was really high on Houston last year. They finished in the final 8, which is a good season, but they still disappointed me a little bit based off what I saw from C.J. Stroud as a rookie, and thinking that they would take another step offensively while that defense has top 5 potential. I'm going into this year thinking similarly, where I think if Houston can just get their offensive line back to average, and maybe some of the scheme and some of the personnel changes there can help them. They've got C.J. Stroud, the playmakers. I think that defense is fierce with their edge rushers and their secondary. They could turn the ball over and just create havoc. I really like Houston again this year to challenge some of those top teams in the AFC. I think Indy's one of those teams that could go either way. We could be looking at Daniel Jones, if he's a starter, having the best situation he's ever had with a decent offensive line and some playmakers to throw to. So Daniel Jones in that situation can do some damage. And I think Tennessee's in a clear rebuild. But just like last year, Washington was in a rebuild. But if Jaden Daniels was special and, took them to the, Final Four. So if Cam Ward is special right off the bat, Tennessee could surprise. I think they'll be a tough team to play. But at the end of the day, they just have less talent than everyone else. But I think, Tennessee and Indy are just wild cards depending on their quarterback situation. And I think Houston, to me, they look like the best team in the division heading into this year.
Steve, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the Check the Mic podcast, where and when they can find it.
Yeah, Check the Mic. We're still in off-season mode right now, but in a couple weeks, moving into a new studio. We're going to be previewing every single team, every division heading into the year in late July. So we're live Monday at 9 a.m., Thursday at 9 a.m., and then during the season, Wednesday at 9 a.m. as well on YouTube, and then wherever you listen to your podcast. Check the Mic.
Steve Palazzolo of the Check the Mic podcast. Steve, I know you're busy. Thank you for taking time out. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Yep, sounds good. Appreciate it.
There you go, Steve Palazzolo of the Check the Mic podcast. Appreciate him coming on Hacker After Dark tonight here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Look, we're doing a lot of AFC South stuff this week, right? And because we've done every division leading up to now over the last 8 or so weeks. AFC South's the final one. We'll go to Houston tomorrow night. We've already made stops in Nashville and in Indianapolis, and we'll continue the AFC South conversation pretty much all week. I got to tell you, everybody I've talked to is Houston, Houston, Houston. And I'm not going to say that I'm not. I mean, we'll obviously do our predictions the Wednesday before the season opener. You got to see what happens with injuries and all that sort of thing. The one thing with Houston, man, that offensive line was hot garbage last year. And it might even be worse now. Look, I think C.J. Stroud's a good quarterback. I think that he was massively overhyped coming into the 24 season. I mean, you would have thought this guy was a second coming of Mahomes after his rookie campaign. He fell back down to earth a little bit last year, and primarily because his offensive line was so bad. And again, I don't know what Houston really did to help him on that offensive line other than trade Laramie Tunsil, a 5-time Pro Bowler, and replace him with former Jaguar Cam Robinson, who's now their opening day left tackle. Tank Dell is not going to play this year due to that knee injury a season ago, which sucks, and hopefully he can get better sooner rather than later. Stephon Diggs is gone. I mean, they still have Nico Collins, who's a stud. They bring in Christian Kirk, right? I have Jaguar fans telling me that they don't mind that Christian Kirk went to Houston. Injury problems. He's coming into year 8, year 9 of his career. But Christian Kirk is clearly their second option at wide receiver outside of Nico Collins. It's interesting they brought in Nick Chubb. Now you got Nick Chubb and Joe Mixon. Look, the Texan defense is going to be fantastic, or at least it should be. Not only do they have terrific D linemen and Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson, obviously. You got the cheap shot artist, Azeez Al-Shire, who hopefully the Jaguars have something for in week 3. But I like what they did with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. People forget that. They brought in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from Philadelphia in a trade. He's now in Houston to go with Jalen Petrie. I mean, they got some dudes on defense. There's no doubt about that. I'm much, much more skeptical about the offense outside of C.J. Stroud. And as far as Indianapolis goes, look, great roster. I'm not so sure Indianapolis, 1-53, may not have as strong a roster as anybody in the division. Problem is, it's the biggest glaring problem on the roster, the quarterback. Is it going to be Daniel Jones? Is it going to be Anthony Richardson? Does it even matter who wins that competition? If Indy gets average quarterback play, they should be pretty good with the rest of that roster. But again, getting average quarterback play is much easier said than done when you're in that quarterback situation the Colts are in. And with Tennessee, I like Cam Ward. I don't like really any of the skill talent he has outside of Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard. Maybe an honorable mention to Tajay Spears. So we'll see. I mean, Jacksonville, look, there are reasons Jacksonville only won 4 games last year. I'm not sitting here telling you Jacksonville is going to go from 4-13 to 13-4. But is it unrealistic to say Jacksonville goes from 4-13 to 9-8? From 4-13 to, dare I say, 10-7? I don't think that's unrealistic. I don't think I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. And if Jacksonville is in the 9-8 range, or dare I say the 10-7 range, they're going to be in competition. They're going to be in contention to win the AFC South, depending how everything goes. It's going to be fun. And again, 2 weeks away from the first practice for the Jaguar training camp at the Miller Electric Center, Wednesday, July the 23rd. In fact, more on the AFC South coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. My buddy James Boyd of The Athletic. He's also on 107.5 up in Indianapolis. He's been my guy when it comes to the Colts now for many years. We'll get his thoughts on Indianapolis, on Jones v. Richardson, and how the Colts are looking coming in to training camp. Coming up next, it's Media Day season. The Big 12 Media Day is going on right now. The SEC Media Days going on next week. By the way, DJ Lagway going to represent the University of Florida. He's going out there with Jake Slaughter and with, I believe, Caleb Banks. Great honor. I was actually a little bit surprised. Not that DJ Lagway doesn't deserve it or won't get a lot of recognition. Not that people didn't want him out there. But very few true sophomores go to Media Days. It's usually a senior thing or a junior thing. Lagway could have gone next year. Probably will go again next year. I just thought, whether it's Tyreek Sapp or Austin Barber, maybe one of those guys would have gone with Banks and Slaughter. I'm sure the media is thrilled it's Lagway. I mean, look, I'm not complaining about Lagway going. I just thought that maybe Billy would send either Sapp or Barber with Banks and Slaughter, but obviously not. It goes to show you where DJ Lagway is among his peers and among the coaches with that program that a true sophomore is heading out to SEC Media Days. Speaking of Media Days in the world of college football, Bill Bender, national college football writer of the Sporting News, joins me next. Let's talk Florida State. Let's talk Georgia. Let's talk Miami. And yeah, let's talk a little DJ Lagway and the Florida Gators. Bill Bender of the Sporting News next on a Tuesday night here in the city of Jacksonville. We're glad you're with us. It's Hacker After Dark.
Bone-crushing blows to game-winning goals. Yes! Feel the energy on 1010XL. History! Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Yes! Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
As a law enforcement officer, safe roads are one of my top priorities, ensuring everyone can get home safely each day. some never will, due to aggressive driving, being distracted, or speeding on the roads. And too often, that results in the toughest part of my job and the longest walk in my life. I'm so sorry. I have some very sad news to share with you.
9 people will be killed on our Florida roadways today. Don't let it be you or a person you love. Buckle up every trip, every time. Let's get everyone home safely. A message from Florida Department of Transportation, Target Zero. For more information, visit targetzerofl.com.
Hacker here, and with 4th of July in the rearview mirror now, all eyes are pointing towards Labor Day and football season. How would you like to drop some weight prior to football season's arrival? Well, Awaken 180 Weight Loss is your answer. Back in February of 2024, I weighed 317 pounds. In just a couple of short weeks, I was down almost 40 pounds thanks to the great folks of Awaken 180 Weight Loss. It's that quick. The coaching you get, the information you get, it's all perfect with Awaken 180 Weight Loss, and they can change your life very, very quickly. If it's time for you to lose weight like it was for me, do yourself a favor and go to awaken180weightloss.com. That's awaken180weightloss.com, or call 844-346-1800. Take it from me, a guy that failed in numerous diet programs over the years. I succeeded with Awaken 180 Weight Loss. If I can do it, you can do it. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Football season is almost here, so before it arrives, I'm going to get my home organized. Lauren Brooks here. Closets by Design creates custom storage for every space, lifestyle, and budget. From closets to garages to laundry rooms or entertainment centers, anywhere that needs to be organized. Call today to schedule a free in-home consultation and receive 40% off plus an additional 15% off with free installation. Yes, that's 40% off plus an additional 15% off during the month of July. Call 878-9393 or visit closetsbydesign.com.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
You don't think this would be a good moment to text somebody?
There's never a bad moment to share your opinion on the 1010XL text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Share your opinion
as soon as possible
at 641-1010.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. As temperatures warm up around us, ants come out in droves. And when they move into your home or business, it's unnerving. Terminix knows that ants add up fast, but Terminix subtracts them faster because living with ants isn't any fun. When ants show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with an ant problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
I'm Stacy, and I want to tell you about my fogged up window fiasco at my house. I called up Mac at Baker Glass. He told me all I needed was a glass replacement. The process was so easy. All within a few days, they came out, measured, called me with an estimate, cut my glass, and came out to install the new ones. Now my view outside is fog-free thanks to Mac and his crew at Baker Glass. And my neighbors think I got some fancy new windows.
I'm Mac with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Summertime is busy with graduation parties, summer barbecues, festivities, family gatherings. The month of July, National Carpet Cleaning Month. So Zero Res is offering $45 per room of carpet clean and 20% off air duct cleaning services as well. Schedule your appointment at ZeroResJacksonville.com or call them 287-5727 and ask for the 1010XL special. Zero Res, spelled backwards or forwards, it spells the same. Zero Res.
Zero Res. 1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555, Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. It is Media Day season in college football. In fact, the Big 12 Media Day is going on this week. Of course, the SEC Media Days next week, followed by the ACC and the Big Ten the week after. All this means, well, we're on the doorstep of the 2025 college football season. One of our favorites to talk college football with is Bill Bender of the Sporting News. He's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Bill, how we doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, Bill, we always appreciate it. Boy, Media Day season, I know how busy it's about to get for all of us. Just goes to show you how close we are to the 2025 college football season, Bill. And I guess before we talk about touchdowns and turnovers and things that go on the field, it'll be nice to talk about that with all the stuff that's going on off the field with realignment, maybe a 16-team playoff coming. What have been your biggest off-field takeaways from this 2025 offseason?
That we're moving closer to a 16-team playoff. I think realignment has cooled a little bit, but I mean the trickle down you can see in the other conferences for sure. NIL. Still a work in progress. What do we do next? The House settlement which can't be a game changer. And we're going to see which schools can keep up and, quite frankly, which schools can't. So I think that's what the offseason has been. Now, on the field, I mean, there are plenty of good storylines, from Arch Manning to down your way. I mean, three schools that got to be at least three schools that got to be excited. And, what a week one we have. And I know we're going to talk about some of those games.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. There's some expectations for some teams down here, and quite frankly, just some hopefulness for some other teams. And let's begin with Florida State. Bill, it was a disaster last year, man. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. A football disaster, 2-10, worst record they've had in my lifetime, I believe, at 41 years of age. Look, what's your thought on Gus Malzahn, an entire new defensive staff, everything that Mike Norvell did this offseason to try to pick up the pieces?
Well, I mean, I think there are going to be more stories like Florida State in the future. Maybe not 2-10 and bottoming out from near playoff experience to that. And I think everything kind of just unwinded after that shocking opener against Georgia Tech. But I mean, from the quarterback position on, they still have talent. I'm going down to ACC kickoff here in about a week, and they're one of the teams I'm kind of curious about. What's the mood there? Because if any team was capable of a bounce back season, I mean, if you told me, hey, they're going to win 9 this year or they'll win 5, something in between, there's really not a number I can zero in on after what happened last year.
What does Gus Malzahn bring that staff, Bill? I know they went out and got Thomas Castellanos, who Malzahn is familiar with. They spent a year together at UCF. How do you see that pairing working there for the Seminole offense?
Tempo. They'll have tempo. They'll run. I think they'll run more plays, and they'll try to go faster. Gus's teams at both Auburn and UCF, they could run the ball. And, that was a problem obviously last year. And when you go tempo and you find a quarterback that can be a part of that running game, which they have, it should open some things up. So I think that's one thing. If I had to guess, educated guess would say they're going to run plays. They're going to be a little bit better on that side of the ball.
Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Bill, final Florida State question. 2-10 was awful. I mean, 6-6 or even 7-5 would be a gigantic improvement. But as well as I do, 6-6 for the Florida State fan base, they're not going to be happy. Is Norvell in any trouble after this year if it's a 6-6 type season?
Probably. And that's because of the patience factor. I think you can have, I would say this was I don't know if you're a golfer, but this was kind of shanking one into the pond off the tee and never really recovering last year. Can't do that again. You got to keep it in the fairway. You can maybe hit a bogey on this season, and you get what I'm saying. So I'm saying if they go 6-6, I don't know if I would want to beat him because he was on the hot seat perceived to be last year. They just kind of let it go. Now, again, we do live in an era where we're paying the players and not real interested in paying hefty buyouts. So it does earn coaches a little bit more time.
The interesting thing about Florida State's schedule, too, they got Alabama, Florida, Clemson, Miami. They'll probably be underdogs in those 4, certainly. they might be favorites in every other game. So we'll see how it plays out for Florida State. Speaking of Miami, let's go there next, Bill. The Carson Beck era of Miami Hurricane football is set to kick off. They obviously have to replace a terrific player in Cam Ward. And we're going to know about Miami pretty quick, man. I mean, good grief. Notre Dame and Florida in the first month of the year. What's your thought on the Hurricanes?
What a game to start the season for starters, you know. I mean, you get to see Miami and Notre Dame. What a classic rivalry from when I was a kid. Carson Beck, really interested to see if he can do – I don't expect him to have, like, Cam Ward season. But, you know, the talent that they have coming back on both sides, using the transfer portal well. Good offensive line. Ruben Kane on the other side. He's a guy that could have a big year. And I think the pressure's on a little bit more there than Florida State to probably make the playoff. You know, we have them in our playoff projections as that second playoff team in the ACC. And, you know, Mario, it's a natural step. I mean, if we were in 16 last year, they would have made it.
Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Bill, you mentioned you're going down to ACC kickoff, and obviously with Florida State and Miami in our area, I'm curious your thoughts on Clemson. Everybody I talk to loves Clemson coming into this year. Do you love Clemson coming into 2025?
I tempered, but yes, I think obviously good enough to win the ACC again. 5 players in our big board are Clemson players in the top 50. You know, Klubnik, E.J. Parker, Antonio Williams. You know, they've got guys on both sides of the ball. So I think they're going to be really good either way. Now, can they beat the SEC teams? Can they beat doing the opener? That's a huge game. Huge game perception-wise for both programs. If Clemson wins, you know, obviously that's another season-opening loss for LSU. If LSU wins, keep in mind, as much as we're talking about Clemson here, they had 3 losses to SEC schools last year.
The crazy thing as we move to Georgia next, Bill, is talking to some dog media members in the Atlanta, Athens area, and I tend to agree with this. I'm curious your thoughts. You know, everybody seems to love Texas. Everybody seems to love LSU and Alabama. Is Georgia, by at least their standards, and their standards are obviously unbelievably high, by their standards, are they maybe even a little under the radar coming into this season?
I think so. I mean, when do you think, you know, they win an SEC championship and we're kind of like disappointed in how they played last year in some ways? And I think some of that was Beck's injury in the SEC championship game. It changed the nature of how we looked at them when they played Notre Dame. Can't help but think, would they have won that game with Carson Beck? Improved receiving core this year, and they still have a ton of 4- and 5-star talent. And you know, Kirby's been telling them all offseason nobody believes in them. So yeah, there's definitely that potential. Also worth knowing, they had a brutal schedule last year, and I know Kirby talked about it a lot, but it's less brutal from the standpoint that 3 of those 5 games against teams we have in our post-spring top 25, 3 of those games are at Sanford Stadium. So a little bit friendlier for the Dogs this year.
And I guess the question with Georgia comes down to Gunnar Stockton. I mean, we saw him towards the end of last year. They beat Texas. I wouldn't call him impressive in that game. And then obviously they lose to Notre Dame under odd circumstances with the tragedy in New Orleans. The game was moved. I mean, you never really got to see a lot of Gunnar Stockton. Obviously, we'll get to see a lot of him this year. What is your thought on him coming in?
I was not, I don't want to say like impressed in the bowl game, but I thought he showed some signs that he can be really good. You could tell in that game there was a few instances where he got sped up and it just, you know, didn't get the ball out on time, and it cost him on a couple sacks. But I thought overall he played well, and you know, you're set up for success at Georgia. I mean, he's one quarterback I'm looking at in the SEC. Ty Simpson would be the other at Alabama, where you know, you wonder how good he can be with the receivers he's throwing to, and I think he'll be pretty good.
Final moments with Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Let's end with Florida. Bill, last year you and I talked in July, and we were both wondering if Billy Napier was going to be around come October. And it was close, by the way. I think after Texas A&M beat them pretty good, there were a lot of Gator boosters that were done. And Napier pulled his Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees card and came back from the grave and won the last 4. And now there's all of a sudden some expectations for Florida coming into the year. And I guess the expectation this year is could they potentially be a dark horse college football playoff team?
Yeah, I mean, with DJ Lagway, it's certainly possible. You know, the schedule's still brutal. I don't know who makes their schedule. Seven ranked teams, second straight year, absolutely brutal. But you said it. I mean, November, looking at their schedule this time last year, I didn't think they were going to win a game in November. And they really turned it around. So I think Billy Napier has something there. Continuity on the offensive side of the ball should help. I think defense will be better. That Miami game will be fun. The Florida State game will be fun. So, again, the SEC part of the schedule is not going to be easy. I could see them potentially going 9-3 and being one of those teams like the other SEC teams were last year, where we're arguing about whether or not they should be in. But it will depend on who those 3 losses are to.
9-3 would be unbelievable with this schedule. I got crushed about a week and a half ago when I came on here and I talked about DJ Lagway. And, Bill, maybe I'm too much of a stats guy. I'll admit that. But last year, 12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. The more concerning thing to me was completing just 60% of his passes. Now, I know he wasn't the full-time starter until Mertz got hurt. I know he was battling with injuries. But, Bill, I got Gator fans telling me that Lagway is going to be in New York as a Heisman finalist. And I'm just simply saying we might want to pump the brakes a little bit on that. What's your thought?
Well, your listeners might be crushing me because I misspoke earlier. I said E.J. Parker, not T.J., and then Reuben Kane, it's Reuben Bain. So we all make mistakes. I wanted to correct myself. It was bothering me the whole time. As for Lagway, I think a guy that I'm kind of with you. The upside is Heisman. The probable case is, you look last year, he showed some flashes of dominance. His NFL value could go up through the roof the next 2 years. But I think we'll see the best of DJ Lagway next year. This year, certainly improvement. And I don't want to say, you never say never, because when you look at the Heisman race, there's about a half dozen SEC quarterbacks I could picture in New York. And all of them could be somebody that's nowhere near New York. So I think that's what makes it interesting. Whether it's Lagway, Lenore Sellers, or Arch Manning, you got so many good players. But I'm kind of with you. Just temper expectations off the start because there will be ups and downs.
Bill, as we wrap up, we'll hopefully have you back on prior to week 1, and what a week 1 it's going to be. Good heavens. Your thought here in the early to middle part of July, the Big 4 conferences. Who are your 4 conference champions?
Well, it's early, but, it's hard not to take Ohio State in Big Ten. Despite all the loss of talent, Penn State's right there. But you got to trust the Buckeyes. They get Penn State at home. Got to beat Michigan this year. Georgia in the SEC is the easy pick. Or not the easy pick. I mean, a lot of people are going to pick Texas. So I could see Texas or Georgia. I'm going to plead the 5th on that one. I probably could go either way. But I think that will be the SEC championship game, and they'll both be in the semifinals anyway. ACC, I'm going to go Clemson. We talked a lot about them earlier. And then Big 12, I'm going to be boring and say Arizona State goes back with Sam Leavitt. But understand that one's probably the most unpredictable. And if it's Kansas or Kansas State or Iowa State or Baylor, any of these teams could win that conference. It makes it fun, but it also probably makes it a one-bid league.
And that Big 12 game right out of the gate, week 0 over there in Dublin, Ireland, the game that Florida State and Georgia Tech played last year, the Big 12 gets center stage this year there in Dublin. Bill, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, the sporting news, what you'll have coming out as the Media Day season has arrived.
Yeah, I'm excited. Going down to ACC kickoff, we'll have plenty of college football content here over the next month or so to get us to August 30th. And as you know, it's a sprint to August 30th now that July 4th is over.
There's no doubt. Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Bill, I know how busy you are this time of year. Thank you for the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Who are you? Bruce Wayne. He's not Batman. He's the fat man who isn't overweight. Fat Tony. Fat Tony. Batman. 10 to noon weekdays. Batman. on 1010XL.
Baloo here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Here you can see.
You wouldn't drive your car 50,000 miles without an oil change. So why are you ignoring your septic tank? That thing's working around the clock, taking every flush, shower, and mystery casserole down the line. Eventually, it fills up. And when it does, you do not want to find out the hard way. Don't wait for the stink. Septic tanks need to be pumped every 3 to 5 years. Call 904-862-6769 to schedule your septic pump out with the pros at Duck Duck Rooter. When you're stuck, call the Duck.
Hey, Tinsley, why don't we use EasyCater to order food for staff lunches?
Because my 46-page acronym system is so easy. I just have to salad, stay alert to late arriving deliveries, pie, put in expenses, and Google Pie. Go out and get everyone's preferences and allergy information.
That's supposed to be simple?
No, simple is Steve and Irma and Margie prefer lasagna and empanadas.
OMG.
No need to make work life more complicated. Just use EasyCater, the easy way to get food for work.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece.
Pickett here with a game winner. It's Checkmate Coatings. I've scouted them all. And this Jacksonville crew's the real deal.
I'm Brendan, owner of Checkmate Coatings. We transform pool decks, driveways, and patios with pro precision.
Score big at checkmatecoatings.com. Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at StanleyPoolsFL.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
Hey, Hicken here, and you know I'm going to talk about skin. Yeah, it's hot outside, folks. The oven is on. Temps are in the 90s, and it's only getting hotter. I love the summer, but my skin doesn't. I do my best with dry-fit shirts, big floppy hats, plenty of water. My secret weapon, though, the screen, sunscreen. I use it regularly. Maybe you should as well. Look, I've also been seeing docs at Peaches Dermatology for years, and my skin thanks me for it. I'm telling you, it could save your life. Book your appointment today at PeachesDermatology.com.
Hey, Jacksonville, need a fence and ready to save? At Superior Fence and Rail, you'll lock in 5% off your fence project when you sign by the end of July. A limited time offer for savings and peace of mind this summer. Now accepting appointments for a free estimate. So act fast and get 5% off your entire fence project when you finalize by July 31st. Cannot be combined with other offers. New contracts only.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville. I always brag on what you guys have on-road and off-road. But Greg, tell everybody about what's happening on the water, because you got loads of opportunity.
We do. We've got lots of boats in stock. We got the Honda 19-foot Fisher Runabout. We've got the Coach pontoons, all of them with that legendary Honda motor and legendary Honda reliability, which you always want when you're out on the water.
You could be cruising along the Intercoastal or out on the ocean, but check it out. Facebook page ready for all of you to see. Cycles of Jacksonville, or their showroom on Atlantic near Regency.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Halftime, Hacker After Dark, 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night. 1010XL at 92.5 FM. Coming up in less than 10 minutes, my buddy Trevor Lane. He is the host of the NBA Front Office Show. You also read his work with the Basketball Bulletin. You can see him on the Lakers Nation YouTube channel as well. Trevor is all NBA all the time. We'll talk Orlando Magic, the Paolo Banchero extension, the NBA offseason, the Kevin Durant trade to Houston, biggest winners and losers so far in the NBA offseason. All of that with Trevor Lane of the NBA Front Office Show. That comes up in less than 10 minutes. Also, at the bottom of the hour, our AFC South preview continues. We'll go to Indianapolis. James Boyd of The Athletic and 107.5 up in Indy. We'll talk Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson. We'll talk Colts offseason and more with James Boyd, my guy, up in Indianapolis. Denmark, quickly, ESPN.com is doing their position rankings heading into training camp, and they ranked each team's wide receiver, tight end, running back combo, basically the skill positions on offense, 1 to 32. And with that as a backdrop, obviously they're taking into account Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, De'Ami Brown, I imagine Etienne and Bigsby and Brenton Strange as well. They were ranked 9th last year, which was interesting that they were actually, check that. They were 9th in 2023. They were 16th in 2024. 9th in 23, 16th in 2024. Where do you think the Jaguars came in this year in 2025?
21.
You're not far off. In fact, if this were, if this was Price is Right, you'd be a little bit over, but not bad. 18. So basically right around where they were last year, 18th. They're right ahead, in case you're wondering, of the Seattle Seahawks and the Las Vegas Raiders. They're just behind, 17 is the Green Bay Packers, 16 the Indianapolis Colts. I think that's fair. We think Travis Hunter's going to be good. We think De'Ami Brown's going to be good. We're hopeful Brenton Strange can pick up where Evan Ingram left off. And we think Etienne and Bigsby are going to be solid. The only thing we know for certainty is that Brian Thomas Jr. is a stud. So because of that, I don't have much problem with them being 18 out of 32. In case you're wondering, if you want to go to the very, very top, they got Houston, by the way. I don't necessarily know if I agree with this. They have Houston ranked ahead of Jacksonville, Houston at 14. Yeah, I don't know about that. Dalton Schultz, Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, Joe Mixon. All right, I guess. Is that 4 spots better than Jacksonville? That's debatable. By the way, number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously. Number 2, the Detroit Lions. And number 3, the Cincinnati Bengals. It's certainly hard to argue with any of that. All right. AFC South preview continues. James Boyd, Indianapolis, covering the Indianapolis Colts. That's at the bottom of the hour. Coming up next, my buddy Trevor Lane, NBA Front Office Show. He's also the host of Lakers Nation. Let's talk Orlando Magic offseason, Paolo Banchero extension. Let's look around the NBA. Teams that have improved the most over the last 3 weeks. Teams that have been hurt the most over the last 3 weeks. A little association talk with Trevor Lane of the NBA Front Office Show next on a Tuesday night here in Jacksonville, Florida. It's Hacker After Dark.
Tommy Mack joins Lauren Brooks and Taylor Dahl for the new and improved Helmets and Heels. New attitude, new time. Catch the new look Helmets and Heels afternoons 2 to 4 on 1010XL. Tommy Mack makes his Helmets and Heels debut July 14th.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental with light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, 2 locations in Jacksonville.
Brackish Vodka, the spirit of the sportsman and proud partner of the Jaguars, is thrilled to announce you can get all of their flavors and original vodka at PJ Liquors in St. Augustine. PJ Liquors, since 1999, has been serving up summertime fun. Now enjoy Brackish Vodka, the #1 local vodka in North Florida. Brackish Vodka is the first clean craft vodka, and you can find their 9 flavors at PJ Liquors. Brackish Vodka, for whatever your sport is. Proud partner of the Jaguars.
SportsForecaster.com has all the data you need to project tomorrow's winners. Register for free and track the performance of all your favorite players and teams, including all your fantasy team picks and prospects. Sports Forecaster has the most detailed player profiles on the web, precise depth charts, every transaction, every injury, every news update. No ranting or raving, no preening or barstool bluster. At SportsForecaster.com, you get the timely info you need for every game. SportsForecaster.com. Sign up for free today. The playoff-bound Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp are in full swing at the newly renovated VyStar Ballpark. Your home for affordable family fun. Tickets start at just $5. Fireworks after every Friday home game, and kids round the bases after Sunday games. Log on to jackshrimp.com for tickets and details. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable family fun.
Cooking with Prisco.
These things are wonderful. You're going to love it. Have a rollie.
Catch CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco every Friday afternoon on The Franchi Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles on 1010XL.
Hi, folks. Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Ever wonder what to do with leftover paint that you don't want? Here's a few options. Paint can be placed in the regular trash if it's dry. Simply stir in kitty litter to a thick consistency. Then wait a few days with the lid off till it dries. Also, if the paint is good, there's many charities or churches that would love to have it. If you'd like more tips or have a project, we'd love to help. Go to performance-painting.com. Performance Painting. Repair, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
Guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? TopDressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit TopDressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with TopDressing.com.
ET here, and if you've ever been injured in an accident, visit my buddy Dr. McGowan at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. You have 14 days to see a doctor and protect your insurance benefits, even if you're at fault. And no matter what you hear, you have the right to choose your own doctor. So I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Their auto experts will guide you in every step of the way to ensure the care that you need. Your recovery starts with McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation.
How many different denominations of paper money are currently being used?
When you file a claim with Southern Oak Insurance, we schedule one of our trusted vendors to work directly with you, which means a faster claim resolution. Find out more at southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
There are 7 denominations of U.S. currency: the 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, and $100 bills.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
North Florida is growing with lots of new families joining our community. If you're one of them making the move here, your next move should be a call to American Electrical to create the best home automation system, enhancing your living experience. There are many ways your life can be made easier through smart home technology, voice-activated systems, automated lighting, total house temperature control. With American Electrical, they've got everything you need to automate your home and make it your true oasis. Check out American-Electrical.com. powered by professionalism and raising the excellence bar.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold's recently hit an all-time high at over $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Yo, ET here, and I need you to beat the heat this summer with cool escapes and non-stop fun in Clay County. Tackle indoor adventures head on. Throw axes at Live by Axe or smash your stress away at Just Smash That. Then kick back with drinks, good food, and fandom vibes at Nakama Anime Bar or Leaderboard Arcade and Bar. Whether you're blowing off steam or just looking to chill, Clay County got your perfect indoor getaway. Find your cool at exploreclay.com. That's exploreclay.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Well, the NBA offseason hasn't been going on too long, but Orlando has made a ton of moves, including earlier this week giving Paolo Banchero a 5-year maximum extension. You combine that with the Desmond Bane trade, the signing of Tyus Jones, the NBA draft. It has been a wild couple of weeks for the Magic, as it really has for a lot of teams throughout the NBA. Let's talk about it with Trevor Lane. He is the host of the NBA Front Office Show. You also catch his work at Lakers Nation, and Trevor's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Trevor, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back on the show. It's been a super busy NBA offseason, but that's just the way that we like it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Summer League play going on right now. I know a lot of people around here have enjoyed watching Walter Clayton and Will Richard take the court already in the Summer League. Orlando gets their Summer League underway on Thursday. But clearly, Trevor, I wanted you on for a few reasons. First and foremost, Paolo Banchero is a very wealthy man now. 5 years, $239 million, could be worth upwards of $287 million if certain incentives are reached. Your reaction to the extension for Paolo down in Orlando?
Yeah, not a surprise that that's who they wound up, what they wound up doing with that extension with Paolo Banchero. Certainly deserving. We've seen what the top end talent is with him. He's very exciting and certainly somebody that I thought at one point, especially when the season got off to such a quick start for him, I thought he may be making a serious all-star push. Unfortunately, injury disrupting things for him last year, but an extremely talented player, and now a piece they have locked up long-term alongside a number of other young players on the roster, including Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, and now the recently arrived Desmond Bane. The Magic are saying, hey, we've got a shot here. Why not us in a wide-open Eastern Conference? And I'm excited to see what they do next year.
Trevor, I try to be as unbiased as I can, but I'm sure you know this about me by now, that I'm a pretty big Orlando Magic fan. I mean, am I drinking the Paolo Kool-Aid, or is he not one of the top, 15, arguably top 10 players already in the league?
Yeah, he's definitely up there. I don't know if I'd put him top 10. I'd have to really sit down and make a list, but I think he was well on his way to becoming one of those guys at the start of the season. Last year, things definitely fell apart, particularly with the shooting. It didn't feel like anybody could shoot the ball for the Magic last year, so hopefully that's something that we see shift this year. But talent-wise, absolutely, he's an incredible player, and he could very well wind up outperforming this contract. I mean, this is a big deal. This is a lot of money, but if he becomes what the Magic think he's going to be, then they're going to be really happy with this. So I think Paolo has a ton of potential, ton of upside, and can be the 1A guy for the Magic here moving forward.
I've never been so happy to be wrong. I was a Jabari Smith guy in the draft, and nothing against Jabari Smith, but I'm happy Orlando didn't listen to me and did indeed select Paolo Banchero. Since the last time we talked, Trevor, Desmond Bane is now a member of the Orlando Magic. KCP and Cole Anthony to Memphis, along with obviously some draft capital as well. Your thoughts on Desmond Bane and what he brings to the Magic?
Well, Dez is exactly what Orlando was missing without taking away too much of what makes them good. They already were an elite defensive team last season, but where they really struggled was shooting the ball. Dead last in the NBA in three-point percentage, and it wasn't particularly close. And Dez is a high-volume, high-percentage three-point shooter that also gives you secondary playmaking ability, which is certainly something this Magic offense needed. Part of the reason why their percentages were so low is they struggled to generate good looks. So Des Bane will help you check both of those boxes, both in terms of shot creation and three-point shooting. He brings a toughness to the team. And the Magic's MO, it's all about defense, and you're not going to sacrifice too much with Des Bane out there. He's a really solid defensive player. Long-term commitment to him, and the Magic did give up a lot to get him when we're looking at the first-round draft picks that they gave up. But the Magic believe with this core in place, those future picks are not going to be high-value picks anyway, because they're going to be one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. So I like the aggression to go in and make something happen here if you're Orlando. The price tag, yeah, it's a bit high for Desmond Bane, but I like the aggression from the Orlando Magic. I think they looked around at the Eastern Conference, said the East is severely depleted this year. The Celtics are going to be fading away here with Jason Tatum, the unfortunate Achilles injury. Same thing going on with the Pacers with Tyrese Halliburton. The Bucks, they just made a move to get Miles Turner. We'll see where that takes them. But the path is clear in the Eastern Conference, and the Orlando Magic say, you know what? Why not us? Why can't we be the team to make the run that the Pacers made this past year? So, I applaud them for going for it, and I hope it pays off.
Trevor Lane, the host of the NBA Front Office Show with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Trevor, the core four, Bane, Banchero, Wagner, Suggs, all four of them, 27 or younger. All four are now under contract to Orlando for at least the next 4 years. I mean, this could be the start of something pretty good, correct?
It certainly could be. And how they manage those salaries is going to be incredibly important under the collective bargaining agreement that we have right now. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money committed to those guys. And that could severely inhibit the Magic's ability to build out the roster around them. So looking at things moving forward financially, they could be in a spot where they have to make some tough choices with some of those players. But right now, they do have these guys on long-term deals. They can certainly grow together, and that's going to be exciting to see. But when Desmond Bane's making over $40 million in a couple of years, same thing with Franz Wagner, and now Paolo Banchero on that kind of money too, that's going to add up pretty quickly. And so the Magic are going to have to be really careful with how they manage the rest of their cap. But those are some really good young pieces that they have acquired, and I do think they're going to fit together pretty nicely. Again, Des Bane is the perfect fit for what the Magic needed, so I can't fault them too much for saying, you know what, let's go for it, and we'll figure out the finances later.
You think about all the money that free agents have gotten over the last couple of weeks, and I look at the Magic bringing in Tyus Jones on a 1-year, $7 million deal, and you think of Tyus Jones and what he's done in his career. Boy, I thought that was good value, Trevor. What was your thought on that signing?
Yeah, I like Tyus Jones a lot, particularly on a team like the Orlando Magic that has so many strong defensive pieces around him. That's always been his problem, has been the defensive side of the ball. But a highly efficient point guard that can hit open shots, and that's certainly something that the Magic need. For a long time there, Tyus Jones was widely regarded as the best backup point guard in the entire NBA when he was with Memphis. So I think this is a nice addition. I think that he was miscast a bit in Phoenix, where his weaknesses on the defensive side were exploited too much because they had so many other poor defensive players around him. On the Orlando Magic, you don't have that problem. You've got a great defensive team, and so you're going to be able to let him play into his strengths, hide some of his weaknesses, and I think he's going to be a fantastic fit, particularly with his shooting ability and how efficient he can be there.
Couple of more for Trevor Lane of the NBA Front Office Show. Obviously, a fan favorite down here is Mo Wagner coming off the ACL. You weren't sure how it was going to work out. Mo loves Orlando. That's obvious, playing with his brother Franz. He's back on a 1-year, $5 million deal. And you do the math, he got hurt December 20th. The season will start around October 20th. That's 10 months. He should be back relatively soon after the start of the year, one would think. What does Mo Wagner's return do for the Magic?
Yeah, just gives you more depth at the big position. If you look around the NBA, and Mo had a phenomenal start to the season, was certainly unfortunate to see what happened with his injury there. But You look around the NBA right now, and we're seeing the center position really come back in style. For a while there, a lot of teams would have, kind of one big and then go small behind that player. Not so much anymore. I mean, look at the Houston Rockets. 3 legit centers now on that roster with Clint Capella, Steven Adams, and, of course, Alperen Sengun. So I do like that the Magic have that kind of a build, too, and that gives them flexibility. You've got Mo Wagner, you've got Goga Bitadze, and you also have Wendell Carter Jr., giving you the flexibility to play big if you need to. And Mo and Wendell's ability to shoot the 3 provides a bit of spacing out there, even if you are playing bigger. You can play smaller as well, with Paolo certainly at the 4. You could even experiment with some lineups with Paolo at the 5. So that kind of versatility to play bigger or smaller is incredibly important in today's NBA, so that you can match the threat being presented by your opponent. And now the Magic have the ability to do that. They can play bigger lineups where they've got 3 centers that they can all play, and then they also can play smaller if the situation calls for it. So I think bringing back Mo Wagner was a no-brainer, especially on this contract. And he really was playing very well to start the season last year, and hopefully he gets back to that sooner rather than later.
You mentioned the injuries in the East, right? Damian Lillard in Milwaukee, he has since been cut. He was going to miss probably the entire year. Tatum in Boston's probably going to miss the entire year. And Indiana already announced that Halliburton's going to miss the entire year. So I look at Orlando, Trevor. I look at Atlanta, Detroit, Miami. Those 4, we already knew Cleveland was going to be good. We already knew New York was going to be good. But the Pistons, Hawks, Magic, and Heat, boy, they all look like they're going for it with this opening now in the East.
Yeah, everybody in the East is right now looking there, seeing what Indiana did last year, seeing that Boston has taken a step back. Cleveland is going to be very, very good. They had a great season last year. Unfortunately, they ran out of steam in the playoffs. But that's a good team that right now I think is the favorite to come out of the East. But they're not scaring anybody. They're not prohibitive of teams going for it. And so teams like the Hawks, the Magic, the Pistons, they're looking around right now and saying, hey, it can be us. Why not us? Why can't we be the team to make the run and be the team at the end here, making it all the way to the finals? So, it is, my goodness, compared to the gauntlet in the West, the East is smooth sailing because there are a lot of opportunities to rack up wins in that conference. And so I think that teams like the Magic, the Pistons, and others are making the right read and saying, let's go for it. This is our chance. This is our opportunity. Let's take advantage of the unfortunate injuries that have hit other teams. And let's use this as our chance to really hit that next level. So we're seeing them, not a surprise, but we're seeing them buy out there right now on the market. And they're going to try to jump at the opportunity to make a push right now.
Trevor, as we begin to wrap up, in the last month, the 1 or 2 teams league-wide that have helped themselves the most, and on the flip side, the 1 or 2 teams that have been hurt the most in the offseason to this point.
Yeah, I think the Houston Rockets have had a phenomenal summer when we look at what they've did, bringing in Kevin Durant, adding Dorian Finney-Smith. They've got some phenomenal pieces there. They're ready to potentially contend. I love the offseason they've had. The Denver Nuggets maybe got the 2 best values of the summer so far by getting both Bruce Brown and Tim Hardaway Jr. on veteran minimum contracts. I loved the Cam Johnson trade that they made as well. That opened up flexibility. It's a fit for their roster and allowed them to do other things. And now they're going to have most likely Jonas Valanciunas. We'll see how things really work out with his team in Greece that wants him. But it does look like Jonas Valanciunas will probably be the backup big for the Denver Nuggets. So that's a really nice 1-2 punch with Jokic and Valanciunas. So I think Denver and Houston are 2 teams that stand out as having phenomenal off seasons. As far as the other side of it, Phoenix, I think there's still a lot of questions about exactly what they're doing. A buyout may be coming for Bradley Beal. The pieces on their roster, frankly, just do not make sense. And so there's some disappointment there. And then, there's moves coming, but right now, Golden State. This may change a week from now, but Golden State's still being stagnant at this point of the summer. We're waiting to see what's going to happen with the Jonathan Kuminga restricted free agency. Where is that going to go? Is it going to be a sign and trade? Are they going to land Al Horford? Again, I think more is coming for Golden State. I think they've got stuff that they're working on. But right now, they're a noticeable team that hasn't done really much so far this summer. So I do think they've got stuff on the way. But if we had to grade right now, Golden State is kind of an incomplete on the offseason.
Again, the offseason's been pretty wild. NBA Summer League is going on right now. And, heck, we're going to snap our fingers, and training camps are going to be opening in mid to late September. Trevor, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the NBA front office show, where and when they can find it.
Sure, yeah. You can find the NBA Front Office Show. We're 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, on our YouTube channel as well as our podcast feed. We cover the entire NBA. I also cover the NBA from a breaking news perspective over on the Basketball Bulletin, which you can find that as well. And if you're interested specifically in the Lakers, you can find me over at Lakers Nation.
He's one of our favorites when it comes to the NBA, Trevor Lane of the NBA Front Office Show. Trevor, appreciate the time. We'll talk soon, pal.
Sounds great. Thank you for having me.
Jacksonville is listening.
Duval, baby.
1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Summer means fun in all forms. Longer days and more chances to soak up the sun and the fun. Budweiser and Bud Light reminding you to drink wiser. Hydrate between beers and don't sweat it. It's the best way to get home safely.
Hey, this is Coach Jason Gibson of your Jacksonville Sharks. I know the importance of a strong game plan, and that's exactly what I've got with Clay Solar Installation Partners. They did the install of the solar panels at my house, and I couldn't be happier. Lower energy bills, clean power, and a winning team that made the whole process easy. If you're looking to save money and go solar, trust the pros at Clay Solar. Call Karen at Clay Solar today and tell them that Coach Gibson sent you.
One man, one hammer. One place to hear it drop. Hammer Time with Hayes, weekdays on The Frangie Show.
On 1010XL, driven by Kia on Atlantic. Southside Kia is now Kia on Atlantic.
Football season is almost here, so before it arrives, I'm going to get my home organized. Lauren Brooks here. Closets by Design creates custom storage for every space, lifestyle, and budget. From closets to garages to laundry rooms or entertainment centers. Anywhere that needs to be organized. Call today to schedule a free in-home consultation and receive 40% off plus an additional 15% off with free installation. Yes, that's 40% off plus an additional 15% off during the month of July. Call 878-9393 or visit closetsbydesign.com.
Tired of wrestling with your shower curtain like it's a slip and slide gone wrong? Ditch the drama and say hello to a smooth, stylish glass shower enclosure from Baker Glass. Wago Glass is clean, elegant, and makes your bathroom look huge and brighter. Give your shower a makeover and feel like you're in a spa without the price tag. I'm Mac at Baker Glass. Call me and get ready to love your new shower. Let's make your shower great again. Remember, Baker Glass, no one treats you better.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. As temperatures warm up around us, ants come out in droves. And when they move into your home or business, it's unnerving. Terminix knows that ants add up fast, but Terminix subtracts them faster because living with ants isn't any fun. When ants show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with an ant problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
Summertime is busy with graduation parties, summer barbecues, festivities, family gatherings. The month of July, National Carpet Cleaning Month. So Zero Res is offering $45 per room of carpet clean and 20% off air duct cleaning services as well. Schedule your appointment at ZeroResJacksonville.com or call them 287-5727 and ask for the 1010XL special. Zero Res, spelled backwards or forwards, it spells the same. Zero Res.
Zero Res.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at StanleyPoolsFL.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
I'm Brendan with Checkmate Coatings. We coat it all: garages, pool decks, driveways, and patios. Be the envy of your neighbors.
Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguar. With us. What started in early May, one division per week leading up to the start of Jaguar training camp, now ends here in the middle portion of July. I'm on vacation next week, and then training camp for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we will end with the AFC South. We will make numerous stops across the division this week, including a couple up in Indianapolis, which is where we find James Boyd. He's one of our guys when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts. You could read his work at The Athletic, and you can now hear him in the mornings on 107.5 FM up there in Indy. James, hope your off season is going well, and congratulations on the new radio show, man.
Thank you, sir. I'm stepping into your world a little bit. It's a lot earlier mornings for me, but I've been enjoying it so far. And obviously, there's a lot to discuss when it comes to the Colts and the AFC South. Yeah, there is absolutely no doubt about that. All right, recap the Colts offseason. Actually, before we even get there, let's look back to 2024. Indianapolis, right on the doorstep, right? I mean, they were right there. They just could seemingly not get over the hump. How disappointing was last season, and what was the original outlook heading into this offseason? I think the biggest thing was missing the playoffs again. This was the fourth straight season that the Colts missed the playoffs. And unlike you all down in Jacksonville and that fan base having to deal with a lot of, big-time injuries and things like that, even with Anthony Richardson missing time, it felt like this team had a chance to still make the playoffs, and they fell flat on their face in some of the biggest games of the year like they tended to do in recent years. So disappointing into the season for sure. And then heading into the offseason, the outlook, I think the biggest conversation has to be around Anthony Richardson. What do you want to see from your young quarterback? Is this his make it or break it season? Could this be the last year that he's the quote-unquote starter? Or will Daniel Jones be the starter with him coming in and being signed as a free agent? So a lot of talk about the quarterback battle ongoing right now. Well, let's dive into that right off the top. Daniel Jones got a pretty decent one-year contract there in Indianapolis. They don't pay backup quarterbacks, $12 million a year normally around the National Football League. That's what Daniel Jones got. Is this a legit quarterback competition, and who do you think is the front runner right now? Ryan, it is a legit quarterback competition, and it's actually a little bit higher. It's $14 million they got to come down here to Indianapolis. And I think Daniel Jones got that money and came to Indianapolis because he knew, okay, if it's from an injury standpoint or from an accuracy standpoint, I should have a chance to see the field because Anthony has neither been healthy or accurate throughout the first few years of his career. The Colts declared an open QB competition to start the offseason before they even signed Daniel Jones. And when they signed Daniel Jones for that amount of money, to me, that solidified how real this QB competition is. And then now, a few months into it, I think the biggest takeaway I have so far is that I will put Daniel Jones above Anthony Richardson because throughout the spring, I believe on May 29th, Anthony actually had to be shut down prior to veteran minicamp because his right shoulder, his AC joint, which he had surgically repaired, was giving him some issues. Shane Steichen labeled it as AC joint soreness and an aggravation, and they don't have a timeline for his return. Now, Anthony spoke to 24/7 Sports down in Florida, I believe at his camp, and he was saying that he should be good to go for training camp. But even missing that time in the spring, Ryan, I believe, has put him behind the 8 ball a bit because they were already angling, I believe, to make this a true competition. When you lose reps like that, it's hard to gain ground, man. And so I think that Daniel Jones is QB1 right now and could be QB1 going into the regular season just because he's had so many more reps than Anthony has this offseason so far.
James Boyd of The Athletic. You can also listen to him 107.5 FM up in Indianapolis. He's our guy when it comes to the Colts as our AFC South preview continues. James, you follow that team as closely as anybody. Why, to this point, has it not worked for Anthony Richardson up there?
I think the biggest thing is just the lack of availability. He's been hurt too much, man, and he's only played, I believe, 15 games through his first 2 years. He's missed 17 games due to injury, another 2 because he got benched. And so you factor all that in, it's hard to hitch your wagon to a guy who's just not available. And then, like I just mentioned to you, you compound that with this offseason. Like, this is the make it or break it offseason. This is the competition that you have to kind of go in there, prove you're the guy. You don't have the job just outright. You have to go out there and win it. And then before we know it, we come out there for OTAs and he's not throwing. And it's like, man, dude, how many times can you have the same thing happen where you're not available and people continue to believe in you and give you that job? And so I think that from the biggest part, it's the injury factor. And then on top of that, it's the lack of accuracy. It's hard to build your offense around a guy who's so sporadic and so erratic when it comes to passing the ball. And we talked to Shane Steichen earlier this offseason. He's repeatedly stated, whether it's Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, the guy he wants back there starting at quarterback has to be consistent. And if you look at Daniel Jones' career, it did not go out that well. It didn't end that well in New York. Before his career, I think he's like a 64% completion percentage. Anthony had a 47% completion percentage last year, which is just untenable for someone who's trying to run an NFL offense. And so every time we ask, hey, by the way, Anthony's more explosive, but he's less consistent. Meanwhile, Daniel Jones is less explosive, more consistent. They have leaned each and every time, no matter how you ask the question, towards consistency. And I think that Anthony has lacked that throughout the first 2 years of his career. So it's going to be a big, big training camp for him and a big season because if he doesn't figure it out this year, Ryan, I think the Colts could be looking at, trying to find other options at quarterback.
James, whether you're talking about Ballard at GM, Steichen, the head coach, both of those guys are clearly on the hot seat entering this year, correct?
I think so. And, we had this conversation, I feel like, Ryan, in years past, where it's the same song and dance. I tell you, hey, it should be on the hot seat. But I think this year, it's not a matter of should they be on the hot seat. I think they really are because of the factor that Jim Irsay, the Colts owner, died earlier this year, and his daughters have taken over. And his daughter, who will run most of the football operations, Carly Irsay Gordon, she came off in her first press conference after her father's death as meaning business. And she told us flat out, Shane and Chris Ballard know they haven't been good enough. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what she said verbatim. They haven't been good enough. I know she said that for sure. And so hearing her say that so forcefully kind of reminded me or let everyone know in the building, hey, this is no gap year for mourning or no gap year to be, in remembrance of Jim Irsay. You all haven't produced, and we're going to hold you to that because of, the standard we have here. So she said we want to get the standard back to where it was. We want to have a higher standard. We want to win. And so I think that they don't do that, we could see a lot of changes, not only at quarterback, but we could see a new coach, a new GM, and a new everybody if they don't, do what they're supposed to do this season, which the expectation for this franchise is to make the playoffs.
Couple of more for James Boyd of The Athletic, also 107.5 FM up in Indianapolis. James, obviously the quarterback position is the most important. I'm not breaking any news there. But outside of that, you look at this Colts roster, let's start on offense, and they're loaded pretty much everywhere else. You're talking Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman Jr., Joshua Downs, Alec Pierce. They draft, Warren, the tight end out of Penn State, the offensive line with Quentin Nelson. On paper, outside of quarterback, the offense looks pretty good, but of course, it's all going to come down to the quarterback.
Yes, Ryan, and that is their internal belief. Talking to people behind the scenes and, talking to a few sources in the building, the expectation is that if we could just get moderate QB play, not even great QB play, just average QB play, where you're not turning the ball over a ton and you're at least moving the ball somewhat decently, they think they can be a playoff team. And look at the other positions that are on the roster. Yes, Michael Pittman Jr. should be back from the fractured back he had last year. He's fully healthy. He should be better. Tyler Warren, I think, looked great throughout the spring. He's automatically boosted their tight end room, which was one of the worst and least productive in the NFL in recent years. And so you look on paper, yes, offensively, they have all the pieces. And even defensively, they have a new coordinator in there. Gus Bradley's out. You all familiar with him down in Jacksonville. His soft zone coverage, that's out of there. You got Lou Anarumo in there now coming over from the Bengals. He's going to be more aggressive. They signed some big pieces in free agency defensively as well, and Travarius Ward as a cornerback and Cam Bynum at free safety. So the pieces are there, but it all comes down to the quarterback position. And like I said, I think the job is honestly at this point, Daniel Jones, is to lose. And can he kind of have a redemption-like season as we've seen with other quarterbacks throughout the NFL, the most recent one being Sam Darnold.
James, as we begin to wrap up, I want to end with your thoughts on the division. But before we get there, I was talking to some other folks up in Indy at different points this offseason, particularly in the last couple of weeks. And the term lethargic came up in regards to the fan base. That, the Pacers did what they did, which was a great run, but now Halliburton's out and you lose Miles Turner. And then when you get ready for the Colts season, yeah, people are excited for football, but then they don't really know what's going on at quarterback. I mean, what is the excitement level up with the Indy fan base heading into 2025?
I definitely think the Colts are flirting with apathy, especially like you mentioned, after this Pacers run, which is basically like something out of a movie. You have the Fever, who, even though Caitlin Clark's been injured as of late, they're still a very exciting team, up-and-coming team. The Colts have kind of been middling. They've kind of been that middle of the pack, just good enough to annoy you because they're not good enough to get into the playoffs. They're always like 8-9, 7-10, 9-8, something like that. And so I think this upcoming season is, one where, considering the new ownership with Irsay's daughters taking over, they want to be able to inject hope into this fan base. I think one way you do that is obviously to make the playoffs, to make some noise, to win your season opener for the first time in, I believe, 10 years, to beat Jacksonville on the road for the first time in forever. Little things like that you want to be able to do, which they just haven't been able to do in recent years. And so having won the division, obviously since 2014, just things like that, those are targets you have to meet and hit, I think, to keep this fan base from being apathetic. But right now, going into the season, there isn't a ton of excitement other than just the drama. I think a lot of people are just into it because of the quarterback competition, but actual play, it's hard to, conjure up a lot of hope because you're picking between two quarterbacks who have largely failed in the NFL, quite frankly, to be honest with you. So it's a hard road to hoe, Ryan, but it's one they have to, because what other choice do you have?
All right, James, you look around the division. Obviously, as you can imagine, the offseason down here was wild, to say the least. Tennessee brings in Cam Ward. Houston, I guess, is the favorite going in, although I absolutely hate what they did on the offensive line. They made a bad offensive line, made changes, and it might be even worse than it was a year ago. I mean, what is the Indianapolis thought on the division heading into 2025?
I think they feel like they do most years, that they have a chance to win the division, considering that Houston's probably the top dog, considering they've won it the last couple of years and CJ Stroud isn't going anywhere. But I think there's a healthy level of respect there for Jacksonville because, at least from my perspective, I look at Jacksonville to be sort of like a new team and maybe have some new blood there with the new coach, obviously, and Travis Hunter coming down there. And I think Trevor Lawrence is still one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, and I might be in the minority there. I know he had a rough year last year and dealt with injuries, and he's maybe not lived up to all the expectations, but he's still very good. And I would put and honestly, this is me speaking for myself, Ryan, if I had to rank the AFC South teams, I would go Houston first, and I would go Jacksonville at number 2, and then the Colts at number 3, actually. And then, you got the Titans rounding things out. I think the Titans are a good, question mark just because of the hype around Cam Ward and things like that. But that was how I would break down the division for sure. And I'm excited to see, just for the purposes of your show, what Jacksonville looks like, because I think Travis Hunter is a very, fascinating piece, especially if you throw him in there on offense next to Brian Thomas Jr., who I love throughout the pre-draft process and proved me right with some big games last year. So I'm excited for the season, man, and it should be, if anything, interesting. It might not be good for the Colts, but it should be interesting to say the least.
James, there's a lot of Gator fans down here in Jacksonville. There's also a lot of people that like to keep tabs on division rivals. Tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about The Athletic, where they can read your work, what you have coming out in the coming days and weeks heading into camp.
Yeah, as most people do this time of year, as I'm sure you're doing, Ryan, I'll have my take on position battles and positions to look at, different things like that, roster spots that we'll have to keep a close eye on throughout the summer, as well as just getting ready for the season when it comes to an update on Anthony Richardson and his shoulder and things like that. So I look forward to catching up with him in a couple of weeks, seeing where he's at, seeing where this QB competition takes us. And on top of that, like with all of my work, you can check it out at theathletic.com. And so I have plenty of that to, write about. And if you want to listen to me, you can listen to 107.5 The Fan here in Indianapolis as well to get the latest on the Colts.
He's one of our guys up in Indianapolis, James Boyd, The Athletic, and again, brand new radio program up there with 107.5 FM, Morning Drive in Indianapolis. James, appreciate the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you to James Boyd of The Athletic, also 107.5 FM up in Indianapolis, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark as our AFC South preview continues, looking at the Indianapolis Colts. And as we talked about with James, you look at the roster, right? The roster 1 to 53, the Colts might have the best roster in the division. Certainly, you could argue that, right? It's not outrageous to argue that. The one problem is a gigantic problem, and that's at quarterback, which right now they really don't know who their quarterback's going to be. Is it going to be Daniel Jones? That seems to be the trend. Or is it going to be Anthony Richardson? We'll have to wait and see. But if they get average play out of the quarterback spot, Indianapolis with Jonathan Taylor and Pittman Jr. and Downs and Pierce and Warren, the rookie tight end, and you go to the defense with DeForest Buckner and Charvarius Ward, Cam Bynum. I mean, they should be pretty good, but obviously the glaring problem is the quarterback. But we appreciate James Boyd of The Athletic and 107.5 FM up in Indy for joining us here tonight on Hacker After Dark. We spent some time on that, spent some time in the NBA. Paolo Banchero became a very rich man yesterday. We talked about his extension and everything going on with the NBA offseason. College football talk tonight as well. Big 12 media days going on right now. SEC media days next week as we are closing in on, 6 weeks roughly away from the first college football game of the year. And then obviously we're never going to get too far away from the Jacksonville Jaguars, now just 2 weeks away before Jaguar training camp. Well, that will just about do it, man. A very, very busy Tuesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, James Boyd up in Indianapolis, The Athletic, and 107.5 FM, talking Colts with us as our AFC South preview continues. Thank you to Trevor Lane of the NBA Front Office Show for joining us tonight to look back on the first 3 weeks or so of the NBA offseason, including a very active period for our neighbors to the south in the Orlando Magic. Bill Bender, national college football writer for the Sporting News, stopped by to talk a little Florida, Florida State, Georgia, and Miami. And back in hour number 1, Steve Palazzolo, the Check the Mic podcast, also a part of the 33rd team. Always love talking NFL ball, Jaguar ball with my buddy Steve Palazzolo. Now, we will be back tomorrow night on a Wednesday, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Tuesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark, on 1010XL, and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have a terrific remainder of your Tuesday evening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night on a Wednesday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until
business.
Taking care of business.
And business is good. 1010XL.